All right, everyone. Now we have to talk about Operation Spider's Web. This happened the other day. Link in the description, archived, of course. This is actually literally insane. Ukraine sent a bunch of trucks into Russia. They were equipped with attack drones. They were then remotely controlled and attacked a series of airfields in Russia, I believe five of them, if I remember correctly, causing a considerable amount of damage actually to a number of Russian bombers and surveillance planes. This is an extreme escalation of what we've seen. This is the first really major attack that we've seen on Russia itself. And I think that that's to drive a point home. I think that the point of it is to tell the Russians, hey, we can fight back, fairly ably, get out of our territory, so to speak. It basically is negotiating leverage. We're not sure on the casualty count, if there is one. That tends to be in flux. It sort of depends on which legacy media outlet you're consulting. So we won't speculate on that. But to cause that level of damage using relatively cheap means shows that the modern battlefield has evolved, so to speak. These are small drones equipped with explosive charges, effectively, and can apparently, bombard airfields fairly effectively. It appears that the attack was highly successful. I am neither Team Russia nor Team Ukraine. I'm Team America first. I'm Team, stand out of it. The Ukrainians have evolved the battlefield in one way, actually shown us that we do not need to be involved because the methodology by which they pulled off such an attack is relatively cheap. I mean, in military terms, you're still talking about millions of dollars, but relatively speaking, it's certainly cheaper than buying a single goddamn tank. As such, we also need to think about the possibility of such an attack being launched on ourselves or one of our allies. The battlefield has evolved. The capability of utilizing relatively small drones carrying relatively small explosives to cause enough damage to an aircraft, for example, or a ship, is significant in my opinion. And I warned of this actually several months ago. What if you were to take a number of these drones with thermite charges and put them in formation, you program it in, and in a remote sense, you park them above a ship. Well, that ship is worth a hell of a lot more than the drones and the thermite charges. Effectively, you end up waging a war of attrition. It has to do with the literal value of the things that are being destroyed. So you're losing $1 million worth of drones to take out a half a billion dollar ship or something like that. That could be a problem for technologically superior naval and air forces. We're literally seeing that right now. Ultimately, I have a feeling that it was done for negotiating leverage, because of course you've got the Istanbul talks and so forth. You do have negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. If Ukraine can convince Russia, hey, we can just harass you like this forever, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. We can fly in a bunch of drones in the dead of night or ship them in on trucks and just bombard the hell out of you. You won't have a military left. You should probably come to the negotiating table. I have a feeling that that's the strategy involved. The problem is that eventually, if you continue to attack missile silos and planes and stuff like that and begin degrading Russia's capability of attack, eventually mutually assured destruction might break down. Well, that's a big goddamn problem. It's not necessarily a problem for Ukraine as much as it is for the United States. Because if things really, really get bad, who's the first and primary target of the Russian missiles? Oh, yeah, that's right. It's the United States. Thank you very much, Zelensky. I sparred with Lev a little bit yesterday when I went on the Break the Rules podcast, for example. and he's quite clearly Team Ukraine, although he's actually from Russia, apparently. I didn't know that originally. Um, and we disagreed on some of these issues. I see Zelensky as being basically a doppelganger of Putin. He's Putin light, effectively. There is an attempt being made to restore what you would conceive of as democracy in Ukraine, but at the same time, you also have the suppression of free speech. You have the suppression of religious groups, and et cetera, et cetera. Doesn't make me team Russia. It just makes me team nuance. You've probably gotten used to that if you've been watching this channel for any length of time. Um, with this particular operation, Ukraine has shown, and they've been doing this for a while. We'll get into a couple of other incidents as well. With this particular operation, Ukraine has shown that it has significant infiltration skills. We've seen, for example, motorized drones that operate on the water, torpedo drones, quite literally, that will go up to Russian ships and smash the hell out of them. It's ingenuity on level red, actually. Respect to the Ukrainians for developing these various tactics. It's almost a form of drone-based guerrilla warfare at times. It's very, very strange. The problem, though, is that it could be aimed at us in the future. And a state with more resources, more money, and so forth than Ukraine could pose a significant security threat to the United States. Really, again, I'm Team United States, so I'm thinking about the self-interest of our own country and of our close allies. What if this sort of tactic were to be used, for example, against our Navy? What if torpedo drones were used against our ships? Well, a couple of torpedoes later, you've lost an aircraft carrier. Well, that really sucks now, doesn't it? Somebody who had $10 million just destroyed, $5 billion worth of tonnage. Well, yeah, that's just great. It makes a whole, it's just wonderful for us now, isn't it? Um, this is an evolved battlefield that we're dealing with. We need to get ahead with regards to drones and AI and all of these other things real quick. Otherwise, we're going to be a third world military force, even though we've got the most aircraft carriers in the world. We're going to be a third world style military force even when we've got 100 million members of the militia. We won't be able to compensate for it. It will be fucking impossible. It won't be. What are you supposed to do? Your ships are all taken out, so you don't have a navy. Your airfields are under attack, so you don't really have an air force. It's going to be a little bit messy. I have a feeling that the modern battlefield is going to be messier than Vietnam. And that's going some. That's about all. Peace out.